got the social medias, we got the social medias. You got the Facebooks, we got the Facebooks. You got the Twitters, we got the Tweeters. We got the Instagrams. We don't really use that one too much, but we're on there too. If there's something else, we probably got it. You can find them all in the description at the bottom.
Okay, guys, for my topic, I want to talk about how adults are ruining children's cartoons.
Yeah.
What I want to basically say about it is, or what I want to you guys asked for a little bit more information about it. What I'm thinking is, it is a cartoon that's made specifically for children. And it's kind of like adults enjoy it, but adults have kind of ruined the fandom of it. It's like one of those things where you say, I love the content, but I hate the fandom.
Okay.
And I'll even go out and say, as an example, I think I felt like this with Adventure Time.
Okay.
So when Adventure Time first came out, I thought it was a really cool cartoon.
The coolest ever.
It was the coolest cartoon ever. And I was a young adult. I was probably in my early 20s when that came out, and I started watching it. And I think the issue for me is that I kept expecting the story to really open up and to give me some sort of back lore or something like that. I wanted more out of the cartoon.
Go somewhere.
Yeah, I wanted more out of it than probably what a child would want out of it, because a child is just going to watch a cartoon and be like, I love the bright colors and the silliness, whatever. They don't need...
dog's butt is funny.
Yeah, they don't need
the continuity
a
was an
world
issue.
building or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, this is a funny post-apocalyptic world. But I think as an adult, I was like, well, they need to explain why the world is like that, what happened to cause, and it doesn't necessarily need that.
And the first 3 seasons of
and it kind of hinted at it.
Yeah.
And it was weird things, if you read the comics or watched the show, it would be it would show a crack in the ground, and it would have a stop sign and a tank or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that I kind of forgot as a kid, those are just fun Easter eggs as a kid, because it's haha, this stop sign's not supposed to be there. Look at it. But as an adult, I was like, these are clues as to
You're trying to unravel the mystery.
Yeah.
And because of that, I kind of started to hate the show. I was like, this show is not explaining. It's not going anywhere. I hate it. And I stopped watching it. And then I went back a couple years later and had no expectations for it.
Yeah.
Rewatched the whole thing, and it was super enjoyable. And I never understood what my problem was the first time through.
Yeah.
And I think that is an issue that a lot of adults have with cartoons.
So on the opposite end of that, go ahead.
I don't think it's just cartoons. I think it's everything.
Well, yeah.
I think that's the same shit that we're seeing with Star Wars. I think it's the same stuff we're seeing with Star Trek. I think it's
fandoms are just killing IPs.
Any fandoms, yeah.
Well, I think
fandoms. I think it's a toxic group of people in a lot of cases. It doesn't have to be, but
but I think it's even sadder when it's about an art form that's not meant for them.
Not meant for adults is what I'm coming at. It's these shows get canceled, and it's maybe not necessarily the adults, but I feel like the adults play a large portion in that. And it's these adults are online complaining about these cartoon shows, which are for children, and the children enjoy them, but because the adults don't enjoy them, the creators are hearing a lot of flack about it. And it's
right.
What is the problem here?
So I think a lot of different creators have solved this in different ways. Adventure Time was the beginning for a lot of that, for children's cartoons that have some kind of continuity and whatnot. And one of the creators that was doing that moved on and created Steven Universe, which has a lot of continuity and even worse fandom.
Yeah, the fandom for that is actually really bad.
I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows, but the fandom is pretty fucking terrible, and that is why the new series, Steven Universe Future, is actually a great representation of the pushback of it, because Steven is suffering from PTSD in it, and he's suffering from the people around him are treating him like the fandom treats the creators of that show, and it's supposed to be not just a representation or a continuation of the story, but just hey, don't be shitholes. Yeah, this is how to not be.
Yeah. And it's funny because that show always had really great messages, and we thought, wow, finally a cartoon that's really inclusive of different things, but the community was just terrible. There was a character that is traditionally drawn she's bigger, I guess, curvy, and someone did fan art of her and didn't draw her that way, drew her skinny, and the community lashed out this person.
Went nuts.
And was sending her death threats and stuff.
Yeah.
This person had to like take off her art online. She had to like remove her online presence because people were just lashing out at her because she drew this character in a different way.
In a way that they didn't like.
Yeah, and it's so strange because it's like, what? That you guys are missing the complete message of the show.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
It's real frustrating because it's, you know, we're all used to the internet. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, people on the other side of the screen, you don't humanize them because you don't see them. So it's a lot easier for some people to like start lashing out like all shitty like.
And there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
No one humanizes each other anymore.
Yeah.
Or
like you said,
as
before.
much. Yeah,
The
it's
internet
not
isn't
anymore,
set
but
up to humanize people, and that's like, I don't know. Despite working on the internet and being a person, like a lot of my life, I've been a huge advocate for the internet, but I've started making a joke that it was a mistake, like the entire internet.
Yeah.
And I think part of that, I don't know. I think there's a thing in there that technology moves faster than culture can. Right now,
especially right now,
and we just haven't figured out how to interact with the internet. We haven't figured out. We haven't developed like the coping skills necessary to interact with the internet like it's a real thing.
It's actually even worse in like lesser developed countries or like where the internet is extremely new. Like India right now is going through a marriage cheating crisis because a lot more people were getting caught because Facebook exists.
Right.
And that's a whole new thing that whole culture is having to deal with.
Like a digital paper trail of
the
bullshit you've done.
Because men are very used to having a mistress and getting away with it.
And now the internet.
Now the internet.
Now
I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing right now. I'm just saying that this is an event that's happening.
Brian doesn't endorse marital infidelity.
I don't, but what I'm saying is
hot take from Brian.
Yeah.
Don't be
cheat.
unfaithful.
But that's just one example where culture is not catching up with technology right now.
But I mean, yeah. And it's weird and it's hard, and like the I think we can look at this in one of two ways, either in like the very narrow way that you did, because I mean it is a real problem that people are angry at things that aren't made for them, that aren't intended for them, but they feel an ownership of, they feel a sense of entitlement around it, and maybe it's because they connected to that art or to that medium or to that thing, but when it moves in that unhealthy direction, that's always scary and weird.
Well, I think the best example of that probably is My Little Pony and Bronies.
Yeah.
Whereas the first two seasons of that show is meant for kids, particularly little girls.
Right.
And then after the Brony phenomenon happened, the rest of that series was made for older men.
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yes.
I never like watched My Little Pony. So.
Well, apparently like season 3 and 4 is pretty decent for anybody, no matter what. But after that, they just catered to that male audience, and which is really strange.
I feel like part of the problem too is that nerd culture is very it's very popular now. Like everyone can enjoy cartoons and video games and things that in the past I think a lot of our parents and grandparents had the idea of when you grow up you don't do those childish things anymore.
Right.
And our culture now is we really indulged in that, and it's fine to still like those things. And I think because we're growing as a person, like you're growing up as an adult and you need more from the story versus what was fine as a kid. So I feel like we're one of the first generations to demand more of these like children's franchises than maybe generations before us.
Honestly, out of all of that, all of the shows that have came like that, I think only one show really got away scot-free. And the reason they did is because it was a finite show. It was planned to end at a certain point, and it ended then. And that's Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls was a really great show that appealed to both children and adults. And they didn't, and the creator did not give anybody enough time to
Develop
demand
that
more of
thing.
it. Yeah.
And I think in some ways, because anime does that, like British television does that, and it's really effective at building audiences that care and enjoy a thing, but that for the most part aren't rabid, with the exception of like Doctor Who and things like that.
Yeah, the only example I can think of anime is probably like Neon Genesis.
Right.
Well, it got to that point with that one, which is
and that's less like, it's not.
That's a rare example.
Yeah, but it's not like, oh, they're doing a Neon Genesis Evangelion remake. Like, I imagine if that happened.
That's happened like 5 times now.
Yeah,
every movie is a remake.
Yeah,
and I imagine there's a lot of vitriol around that, but it's contained. And if you do a short thing, it's easier to maintain. Like, you don't set expectations. People aren't bringing their baggage into it and aren't thinking about it in the same way. Like, this is 10 episodes. You might not get closure. You're like, we're going to tell the story that we want to tell. And part of that is like American television is incentivized to carry it on for as long as it can and then go to syndication and all that stuff. So they want people to get involved. They want people to care and to feel passionate about it. But at a certain point, like, how the fuck do you deal with those expectations? Like, how do you make Rick and Morty season 4 when like season 3 was kind of the height of the curve of the Rick and Morty people.
Yeah.
And that's when the Szechuan sauce shit happened. And
actually, that has a lot to do with Gravity Falls as well. So Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty, the creators of both those shows, are they're friends and whatnot. And Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, told them to go out on a high note and stop.
Yeah.
And that was the plan, but they already had made deals with Adult Swim, and whatnot. So they had to keep going. I believe they signed on 2 more seasons after that. So until season 5.
What do you do at that point?
Yeah,
like, and I think part of it is you need to step away from it. You need to change enough about it that it becomes more defensible. So like maybe Justin Roiland licenses that next season.
Yeah.
And then like stays on as a creative consultant, but not as the writer or not as the producer or not as whatever.
Yeah, and I think in general that's the way to go, because I believe that's what happened with SpongeBob. And SpongeBob had the American the tactic. Nickelodeon was like, this makes too much money, we're making this forever. Yeah. They still are. They still are making it.
Right.
But the creator of the show was in it for like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay, I'm out.
I've built a system. It's now executable and repeatable. Yeah. And other people can carry this forward and I still get money.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that was probably the earliest form of like a modern cartoon being syndicated that way.
Matt Groening, Simpsons.
You're right. You're right. Actually, no, yeah. Fuck.
How has The Simpsons dodged it?
I have no idea. I know they haven't. Well,
they haven't.
Yeah, I don't think they really
seasons 2 through 9 are the magical seasons, and everything's been shit since then.
Well, this is not something that I thought like let's come to a solution about. It was just more of like, hey, I just wanted to talk about this and see.
I don't think
And I just feel like it makes it really hard for creators who are just like, I want to make a thing, especially if they're trying to make a thing for children, and then adults are like, well, this character's backstory doesn't make sense, and it's like, okay, but kids don't care about that. Yeah. Kids just want to see a fun cartoon.
You know, I'll say
kids want fart jokes and
yeah.
There's one good show that has gotten around this. I think
Blue's Clues.
And
no, because people rioted when Steve left.
Yeah,
and there was a whole thing about Steve in rehab.
Yeah,
it's like no, he was.
I thought he was dead for the longest time.
Yeah, me too.
He was what?
I'm pretty sure I thought I had heard. I don't know if this is true or not, but he was balding.
Oh.
And he didn't want to like wear a wig or toupee. Toupee?
Toupee.
What the fuck am I trying to say?
A toupee.
That's why Data died in Star Wars. Because he was getting old and he was tired of putting on the makeup.
Yeah, too bad he's back now. Apparently he's in Picard.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious about that.
I want to watch it. I just don't want to pay for CBS, whatever it's called.
CBS.
CBS has their own streaming platform now.
CBS All Access.
CBS.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying CVS.
Yeah.
Like the pharmacy.
Go get all these cough drops.
There's a really long receipt with it.
Oh, yeah.
Topical jokes.
Oh.
Everyone knows.
But the one show that got away from it, I would say, is Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom.
Don't talk to me about Sonic Boom.
Not the game's terrible, but the show is legitimately great.
It's amazing.
And I think it got away with murder because the fandom just said, you know what, sure. Let's
see this hot Sonic nonsense.
Yeah, and they gave it such like it was. Everyone just assumed it was going to be hot trash, and when it came out to be like, oh, not only this is passable and entertaining, but it's legitimately got great writing and decent animation. People were like, okay, I'm just down for whatever you're going to give me. But I just when the expectations get so high, I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shows like We Bare Bears is another one that has really low expectations, but it's pretty decent. It's okay.
So do you think that this becomes more of an issue with... So Sonic Boom is not a show that has a consistent...
People care about?
I mean, some do. It's surprising.
It's a really good show.
It's not me. No, actually, Hutch got me into it.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So Sonic Boom, it does have like an overarching like plot like throughout a season. So it's like a Monster of the Week sort of thing. You think that's? I feel like that's probably like where it can kind of get away with things. Maybe that's where the Simpsons can as well.
Yeah, I think so because I think like.
Well, that's what fucked up Sailor Moon, too.
Well, like, Adventure Time started out with, like, just sort of Monster of the Day type formula, and then they started connecting episodes of, like, they would show you a little bit of a character, and it'd be really interesting, but they would never fully explain some things, and I think that really frustrated people. I know that frustrated me, and then... when I went back and said, okay, I'm not going to have any expectations for this. Let me just watch it per episode. It was a great show. And I really enjoyed the little callbacks they did. It was like really emotional and heartfelt. But if I had been like a big butthole about it, like I had been in the beginning, I would have missed out on that.
If you had 400 pages of notes still.
Yeah.
Well, that was the problem. Like right now, we went into Sailor Moon Crystal, the remake of Sailor Moon, with expectations of the original show. Which was funny, heartfelt, and had so much filler that you had a lot of character development. Right. Whereas Crystal was just like, we're here to look pretty, we're here to do exactly what the manga did, and that's it.
Yeah, and the mangas were really short compared to the anime.
And it had such a rough start that the last two seasons turned into movies.
Yeah, it had a lot of problems, and a lot of fans were really pissed about it. I wasn't pissed. Crystal was not my favorite. However, I was really enjoying all of the Sailor Moon stuff that came back because of Crystal.
Yeah.
I remember we went to an animazement one year, and you said you were excited for one of the Sailor Crystal panels, and you went in. The first thing that they started doing was like talking. So let's talk about all the ways that Sailor Moon Crystal sucks.
Yeah, they were super negative about it, like, and I got up and left.
Yeah,
because it was supposed to, like, the way, I forget how they had worded it in the pamphlet, but it was supposed to be like a fun, like, compare, like, look at how silly the old one is, look at the new one. But the guy running it immediately started ripping on Crystal, and I was like, I'm out of here, because, like, sure, Crystal's not my favorite, but
fuck you, Dan.
If it wasn't for Crystal, we wouldn't have had all of the merch coming out, and then
the new dub.
Viz did a redub of the original, and they did an awesome job. And the last season, they never dubbed in America, but it's dubbed now. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yep. I will finally get a chance to watch that last season. Well, actually, I stopped at like S or...
So we've been watching the next to last season, and it's used to be my least favorite part of Sailor Moon, and it is now my favorite part of Sailor Moon.
Oh, really?
The whole subs versus dub conversation. This is one time where the dub is like the ultimate version of it, because they just did such great like writing and making things that would be awkward to like plan out. They made it humorous, and it's really fantastic. Plus, holy shit, they make Tuxedo Mask. What one of the enemies call him?
So we were watching an episode the other night, and he bursts in. He's like, I'm Tuxedo Mask. And this, like, bad guy of the day turns around and goes, did you say torpedo ass? And I could not believe that they did that. And it was so funny. The next episode, immediately after that, there was like this enemy that was like a ball, or it was like a circus ball. It was like rolling on the ground towards like passed out people. And Tuxedo Mask throws his like rose, and then the ball just like runs over the rose, and it like just evaporates. And Tuxedo Mask goes, what the? And like was in disbelief that this happened.
But they do it with like perfect pauses too. They just like just a rose, nothing else, no noise.
He's about to do his speech or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
a
my
young
God, it
girl's
was so
dreams are
amazing.
more important than anything. You know, like he goes to start his dialogue and then the ball just like runs over his rose.
It was amazing.
And it's like, wow, this is really funny.
So I think expectations are the real problem here. Fandom
Yeah.
is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately,
Closing thoughts.
expectations are
Yeah.
the real kicker here.
I would say so. So cool it on your expectations.
Yeah,
just
for
enjoy
children's
it.
shows. Just fucking enjoy it, you
Al-
nerd.
Allow things to be enjoyed. Don't like put your own personal expectations on a thing because like somebody created that. That is not a dialogue between you and a creator. That is a thing that a person created that you are choosing to intake. And you can choose not to intake it, but that is
Don't be
on
shitty
you.
about it.
Yeah.
Don't be a
I mean, if
shit.
you don't like it, that's fine, but just don't be a shit about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave it with that.
All right.
let people like things in their own ways. That's my song. That's good.
It's a really good song. Download on iTunes.